what's going on, everybody? It's Pat Voss. This is the Honesty Podcast. Of course, you can catch my vlog series 5 days a week, Monday through Friday on YouTube. And, of course, you can find me at Honesty Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and, of course, Pat Voss 12 on Snapchat. If you're not already a patron on patreon.com/Honesty Podcast, I'd appreciate it if you go over there. If we get about 50 to 100 patrons giving only $1 an episode, we'll be rolling in the dough to make better guests, better appearances. Travel will be a possibility, of course, a better backlighting, studio quality for you guys. But let's focus on today. Today is a Saturday, great interview special. We have Roy Adorjan of R&R Studios. How you doing, Roy?
I'm doing good, Patrick. How you doing?
Good. I'm having a great day. I'm loving this interview series that I'm running right now. I'm getting some great guests like yourself. I actually have a couple good guys out of the entrepreneurial, realm coming in February as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. So for those of you in Honesty Podcast land out there that are listening to this either on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Podbean, or watching this live on YouTube or Patreon, Roy, what is it that you do?
So what I do, it's a facet of things, but to put it in perspective, I'm an author and an artist, probably more an artist through the years, people that know me. In fact, there's a lot of people that have seen some of my newer stuff that said, oh, I didn't even know you do this or do that. And I think that ties into the fact, like I said, I'm kind of do a lot of different things, a lot of different facets. I'm mostly known from one of my companies called R&R Airbrushing. So for the past almost 20 years, which is hard to say sometimes, I've been airbrushing mostly at a lot of private parties and events for kids. Tens of thousands of T-shirts, hoodies, sweatpants, you name it, that I've personalized for people through the years. And we've done a good job through the years of keeping R&R airbrushing afloat and out there, mainly on the North Shore and in the Chicagoland area. And, all my life, even as a kid, I've been an artist, and I always loved cartoons, and I loved to draw and make my own characters. And so even before R&R airbrushing had developed, I was doing the character stuff, writing little stories and doing things such as that. And through those years of doing R&R airbrushing, I also brought in some of my cartoons. I went to school. In college, learned a little bit about animation and stuff like that, and just started building some of those different properties and creating storybooks, and it kind of leads us to this interview today. So awesome.
Now, a lot of people know, they see in the background, and if you're a North Side fan from Chicago, you already know what that is in the background. You can see it. It's all the Cubs players, or at least the Cubs numbers. I love it. Obviously, I'm wearing this for a reason. I'm adorning this for a reason. What is it that's right behind you? What is that?
So behind you is, and for the audience listening in, it's my newest book. It's right here. I'll put it a little bit closer. It's called The Legends of 16. It's part of my Bedtime Bear series illustration books. And this was such a fun book for me to make because, like you, wearing the great Cubs gear there, I've been a lifelong Cubs fan. Grew up with the Cubs my entire life. My brothers and I, playing running bases and flagging fly balls to each other and stuff like that. So for the Cubs to go out and get a World Series championship, it was just amazing. And for me especially, like being an artist and doing what I love and just being able to tie the loves of what I like to do together was awesome. So yes, this is The Legends of 16. It's the new book. It's available on Amazon.com. Just look up Roy Adorjan and you'll find it.
Yeah, and I was actually going to, and unfortunately I didn't have enough time to order it because I was going to have it in front of me. I was going to have it in front of me.
We're ready. We're prepared with plenty of copies. In fact, we've been for me, it's awesome. About 3 years ago, I had released a few other additional children's books under one of my other properties called The Mini Martians. And I'm still doing the Mini Martians, still loving them and stuff, but it took a little bit of a break in the last couple of years just with some other things going on, trying to build some different stuff, but they will be back. But in the meantime, if you did go to Amazon and looked up Roy Adorjan, you'd find those books as well. Doing this book, Legends of 16, just sort of brought me back because, like I said, it's been a couple of years now since writing those children's books. And so doing this one was so much fun because now I've got this, anyone that's an artist out there or, you know, singer, a writer, even doing what you do, Patrick. When you get that artistic sort of like, drive all of a sudden again to kind of pick things up, and that's what this has done for me. And what's so fun is just to see so many people that are attached to the Chicago Cubs, and so it's this great tie-in for me. I mean, when I did those Mini Martian books to go out there and show them around, it was fun, and kids, they like them. But it was different compared to this. This, when I go out there and do a book signing or something like this, it's fun to see. I don't want to say there's a huge line. I'm not Seventh Heaven or anybody like that, or some major, a rock artist or nothing. But it's still nice to see people in line waiting to come and see what the book is all about. And again, they're all tied in because of the Chicago Cubs, and they're all related to it. So it's kind of nice to have that little common bond going on, when I'm out there doing this stuff.
I like that, and I've been a Cubs fan, so I'm not. When I say date myself, a lot of older folks say that, but what I mean is I'm just south of 30. I'm 28 years old, but I've been watching the Cubs for 25 years, a quarter century already, and to finally get rewarded, even though it hasn't been 100 years for me, but to finally get rewarded with a World Series trophy, and then. In fact, there was one more thing I wanted to tie into that, because you did mention Seventh Heaven, and I know about the Chicago Music Cruise as well. But my fiance Devo from Rumor Has It just surprised me this past weekend and said, "Hey, it's Sunday. How about we go see the World Series trophy?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding?" So she drives us out. To see the World Series trophy. I got my picture with my jersey, with my custom-made jersey and the World Series patch up next to it. It was great. I love to put it on Facebook.
I believe I saw it up there. It was awesome.
Oh, my gosh.
Made me jealous.
It was. I wanted to touch it. It was in a case. I wanted to touch it. But, like, with the books like that, I like that you're creating those kind of stories for kids and for young adults that would love to read that. And it also, like you said, brings a little taste of home. For anybody that's a real big Cubs fan, it brings a taste of home back. And I appreciate that you're doing this for all Cubs fans out there.
It really was the intention. It really was the intention, too. In fact, in the back of the book, I've got a little short synopsis. Again, it's a children's book, but it's meant for adults and parents to read to children. So to kind of tie everybody together, but it is from one generation to others. And like you said, you may have a quarter century of being a fan. There may be your father, your grandfather's, grandmothers. There's people that have much longer than you and I both have. And so it's great for them. And it's great for little kids. I mean, I just did a book signing over the weekend, and it was so fun to be there and see little kids that some of them don't even realize what they're there. But, it's great that they see the book. They love the characters, the colors. So they're excited about that. But what I'm excited about is they'll grow up with that. They'll look back 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now when they're 10, 11, 12, and they're starting to become maybe a baseball fan, a Cubs fan, and they'll have those memories in this book to kind of look back on. So
and I want to say something real quick before we move on to the Chicago Music Cruise, because that's how I know you. That's how I met you.
Yes.
But this is a story, and I'm not sure if Devo is going to kill me for this one. After the Cubs initially made it to the World Series and they beat the Dodgers in the NLCS, her whole family basically, and she was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. All of them are really White Sox fans, but her grandmother was a diehard Cubs fan. And I keep hearing the stories from all the family about how, when the Cubs game was on GN, don't interrupt her and don't, make her mad because she is watching the Cubs game. And she did pass a while back, and we actually went out to the grave site, and I was able to. I'm not going to cry on camera, but this, for Cubs fans everywhere, this is what made me tear up at the grave site, is being able to, a person I've never met that I love their granddaughter to death, and I was able to touch the stone and say, thank you. I know you're watching over us. Thank you for helping to make such a great granddaughter that I love, and go Cubbies. And I hope we win it all for you. And that just.
It does. I'm right there with you. Patrick, thank you for sharing that story, because it just like you, I don't want to cry on camera, but I'm known for crying. So I will get emotional, but I'll be fine here. But yeah, I get those same feelings. My an old boss of mine who became one of my mentors and best friends, he also passed in 2010. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of him. And when the Cubs are on, and right when, if you listen to the radio as a Cubs fan, and Pat Hughes will say, Chicago Cubs baseball is on the air. And every time that happens, I kind of look up to Jim and say, I hear you. So, it's so great that something like that sports team, and this one particular, the Chicago Cubs, can touch so many people. And you don't have to necessarily even be a fan just to understand that, something that somebody loves so much, you can all tie in together,
Well, and the thing that everybody, understands about me that's around this Chicago music scene, the cover band scene, Seventh Heaven, you've got Friction, my Tebow's Rumor Has It, Hazit. Of course, you can, find all these bands out here, but since I met her, a lot has happened. A lot good has happened. I get out of the house. We go to meet people like yourself that do great things like this. The Chicago Music Cruise, which is the 7-day long cruise around the Caribbean. Like, that is crazy amazing. I never thought I'd be cruising, and I'm cruising and watching out into the ocean and stepping foot in Haiti and St. Martin and where was the middle? San Juan, Puerto Rico. That's insane for a guy that was from the suburb of Chicago.
For those who don't know, those are some great places you mentioned. I know that this next cruise, this Chicago Music Cruise, they're actually going to be heading to the Caribbean again, but this time we're visiting St. Thomas. We're visiting the Bahamas, Nassau, Bahamas, and also going to St. Kitts, which, believe it or not, if anybody that is aware of, as you mentioned before, Seventh Heaven, Richie Hofer, who is the guitarist and one of the members of that band and runs the Chicago Music Cruise, he's been on cruises and cruises his entire life, but he's said that he's never been to St. Kitts, so that'll be an interesting place to go to.
That will be interesting. That's
coming up. Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. And as you mentioned, we're hoping to maybe bring something of the effect that I do as Roy Adorjan in our studios, whether it be something with the Legends of 16 or something affiliated with, as you mentioned, the whole music scene, which I've been a part of for a number of years and lucky to be a part of. I feel fortunate all the time to be around people like Richie and the band Seventh Heaven, and to get to meet friends, just like your fiance and her band, Rumor Has It. And then, as you said, to meet you out on the cruise. I knew of you, and I think we may have met in passing.
Yes.
Possibly, but not to be over there and watch, if anybody doesn't know, this guy, kicks some serious butt on karaoke, too, over on the cruise. So hopefully there's some fun video of that to see you getting up on stage and doing your thing. That was really cool. So,
that was fun. That was probably you saw the side of Pat Voss that I don't think anybody has ever seen before, because normally I'm a shut-in type of guy, and that was kind of breaking down all barriers there during that 7-day cruise, and I really wanted to relax and have a good time, and I even interviewed Seventh Heaven out on the water. I interviewed Mark and Mike and Nick out on the water at St. Martin, so that was fun. But here's the thing. I wanted to talk about, we talked about your books. We talked about what you've got going. There is one thing I wanted to ask, though. Where can they find you? I know they know where to find me. Where can they find you exactly if they haven't heard it already?
So you can find me in a number of places. First and foremost, I'll just reiterate, you can pick up the book, The Legends of 16, A Bedtime Bear Story, at Amazon.com. Just search Roy Adorjan. You'll also find my other books up there, like The Mini Martians, which you can also find me at minimartians.com. And as I mentioned in the very beginning of the interview, rnrairbrushing.com. You can also find me there. And since we're throwing all these out there, I'll give you guys one more, which is one of my newest things. It tied right in with the R&R airbrushing. Like I mentioned, for years and years, doing all these different things for kids. And even before that, when I was in high school, people would say, can you graffiti my name? Can you graffiti this? And so years and years later, here we are, and I've got a website called Brickfitti, BRICKFITTI.com, and you can go there and you can actually have me customize your name, choose the colors, I graffiti it up, we put it on a very giant decal that you can stick right on the wall. It's great for kids' rooms and you name it. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so you can check it out there.
Definitely be checking it out.
Linking them all together, and best place is Facebook too. You can always find me on Facebook, Roy Adorjan, or the fan page, which is brand new, Roy Adorjan R&R Studios. So
okay.
Thank you, Patrick.
No problem. And there's one last question I wanted to ask before we get out of here today, and that is, if you could be doing anything other than what you currently do, what would it be?
Other than what I currently do, that's a hard question to get into.
I know, because you currently do a lot, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to expand on what I currently do. I'd love to eventually, and I plan on it. I'm building this brand as well as the Mini Martians, as I mentioned. I got a lot of things in the pot with that. I've got a licensing agent that I work with, and we'll be back doing some stuff with that in the near future. And I think one thing I'd like to do, as you mentioned, I'd love to get to a point where you can continually give back. I mean, it's nice. We give back as we can. You do this interview, and it inspires other people to do what you do. And I feel like I do the same. So it's always great to be able to share those things. I've been fortunate enough in my life that people have asked me, why don't you stay in school and do this and do that? And believe me, it's great to stay in school and always want to learn. But I've always found it the most important thing for me was meeting people that can inspire you and people that are humble enough to share with you. And I've had friends that are incredible artists, like my friend Rob Stotts. Livingstone Arts is his website. And this guy is an amazingly talented artist and just a great friend of mine. And it's people like him that share with me that I'm able to then realize, hey, if he did that for me, I can do that for somebody else. So I'd hope, that if I wasn't doing just this, I'd be maybe teaching other people to do it and stuff like that,
And see, that's a good point that you make there, because that's something I was inspired to do as well and trying to do with this podcast is I'm moving all of the, usually you can find it on YouTube, and I will give you the link so you can show it on your websites and things like that. But these are starting to move. The interview series is going to start to move just to patreon.com, where it is $1 an episode.
Okay.
And if you'd like to, not yourself, but if the fans out there would like to subscribe to it, it's $1 an episode. I put out now about 6 to 8 episodes a month. So it's only $8 a person, every month. You can see all the Q&A sessions. You can see all the interviews. And I'll also have like a vlog in there as well to update you guys. And so it'll be patreon.com/honestypodcast. That's where you can find all my information there, as well as honestypodcast.com, the new website that I just put up there through Weebly.com.
Excellent. Well, I've become a fan of you as well. So I think I could be included in going on there and subscribing. It'd be great. I get to see our interview and all the other great ones that you've done, and hopefully some new ones coming up, as you mentioned.
Oh, I have. So I've been rolling enough where over the last 2 weeks now, I've done, I think after today, because there's your interview and there's 2 more today.
Okay.
That will be 14 or 15 interviews in 2 weeks. Excellent. So, and I only debut them every Saturday. So
right.
So
you build, it's very similar to what I do. You try to build content so you have stuff and you can put it out there and everybody can get a little bit equal share of what you're trying to show. And hopefully things don't get missed and lost in between,
Right, and that's why I have my vlog series now only on YouTube, and then I have every little episode I do is on Podbean, Stitcher, Radio app, and iTunes. Mm-hmm. But mostly the interview series will just be on Patreon. But of course, every interviewee, everybody that I interview will get their own link for themselves to view it for free for their websites, and then they can just link back to Patreon for anybody else.
Awesome. Love it.
So I'm Pat Voss. This is the Honesty Podcast. This has been Roy Adorjan.
Yep. And I'll just before you go really quick, Patrick, I have, for anybody that is interested, I did mention a book signing last week. I have another one tomorrow, actually, in Schaumburg at Half Price Books on Gulf Road. And it's from 1 to 4. If anybody wants to come out, buy a book or bring your already purchased book, I'll come out and sign it. We've got free stuff for kids like bookmarks and coloring pages. We've got, collector edition posters, with different characters like Jake Berry out of here and stuff like that. So feel free to come on out. And I've got some more being scheduled that, again, you can find just by looking me up on all the places that we mentioned before.
Beautiful.
Thanks again, Patrick, for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you coming on. And everybody can catch these interview episodes every single Saturday on patreon.com. And, of course, you can catch the audio blogs on iTunes, Stitcher Radio app, and Podbean. I'm Pat Voss. I'm your host. Until next Saturday for another great interview series, we'll see you later.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.